Well, good morning everybody, welcome back to another video. It's cold this morning, I have to say. It's pretty nippy on the fingers, and I've just walked about 20-30 yards from the van and already I can feel the cold, which doesn't bode well with today's video. So today what I've got for you is a bit of a challenge. Now, as I've said on the last video, I've recently had an operation and I've not been able to carry my camera gear, hence the reason why the last video was all about taking pictures with your phone, and the one before that was office based. But as you can see, I've got my bag today, so I've got everything at my disposal to take all the images that I want. But, and there is a but, I really can't be walking too far with the camera bag, carrying it for too long, but at least I've got it, that's the main thing. So what I thought today would be a good idea is to do a little bit of a challenge, and I'm going to call it the camera bag challenge. Now, what that basically entails is me dumping the camera bag down in a specific place and finding images all within sight of my camera bag. Now, I'm going to call this the hashtag camera bag challenge because I want you all to get involved in it too. When you've done your session and you've got your images, just go onto Instagram, post your shots under the title hashtag camera bag challenge, and then I'll be able to see them. Now, what I'm also going to do is I'm going to extend this invitation out to other YouTubers if they dare take up the challenge. It's not an easy one, I have to say, but if you watch my channel regularly, you'll know that I'm all about learning to see, and you often see a little box in the top corner of my thumbnails that says learn to see, a red box. And it's just about paying more attention to your surroundings rather than walking at breakneck speed looking for all these big landscapes. And learning to see is a really fundamental part of photography. It's how you find these bigger landscapes. You learn to recognise them when you see them, and doing it on a much smaller scale is how you piece all these compositions together. It's a great learning tool, and it's pretty much how I learned my photography. So the invitation is for intimate landscapes, let's say, not the bigger landscapes. So when I say intimate landscapes, I mean anything with a macro lens, anything up to 100 to 400, for example. But really, it excludes wide-angle landscapes, wide-angle vistas. So your extreme wide-angle lens probably isn't appropriate for this challenge. But yeah, hashtag camera bag challenge, and upload your images and let me see what you've got. I'm going to take on the challenge today. I haven't found my location yet. I suppose you could say I could do it here, but there's a little bit of a tip that I've got for you that I want to mention in just a second. So I'll see you when I've found my little spot. Right, the bag's down and I think I found my spot. Now, the key thing for this type of challenge is that you choose your locations carefully unless you want to make it really, really difficult for yourself, and we don't want to do that necessarily. So I've come to what we call, in ecology terms, a habitat interface, and what that means is that where numerous habitats meet, or one or two habitats meet. Here behind me we've got coniferous woodland, and in this direction we got sort of the edge of broadleaf woodland, but we've got patches of grassland as well. What I would have liked would have been either a pond or a bit of a river, all within my radius, but I suppose with me being the one that's setting this challenge, I should be the one that suffers the most. I could have just stayed in one habitat, like the coniferous woodland, for example, behind me, but I want to give myself a bit of a fighting chance. So I've chosen this. We've also got a nice mossy stone wall. It doesn't extend very far that way, but just turn you round. It goes quite a long way that way. So it's everywhere where I can see. I'll send my camera bag, but I'll be able to see this wall probably much easier. from wherever I decide to photograph. So I'm going to leave the bag here and I'm going to wander around. I'll take something with me like my tripod, then at least I can come back to my bag, get the kit that I need, and then take it back to location, knowing that the tripod's there where I can find it, and I can drop straight on the location again. I've done that before, where you come back to the bag full of excitement and then you go back and you can't find the damn thing. So anything goes, up, down, across, literally anything is on the table. I have to say there's been a bit of sunshine this morning, which is not ideal. I much prefer nice, soft, flat, overcast light, which is what I've got just at the minute. There's a little bit of mist in the atmosphere, if you can pick that up with the camera, but I'm not expecting that to persist, and I'm hoping the clouds will come over a little bit and I won't get quite so much contrast, which is just perfect for the sort of things that I'm looking for today. Contrast is good, but it's only good for specific shots. You can't make all shots work in it. It's a very, very niche little area, and often when you find those little niche shots, they can be fantastic, but you stand your best chance of finding and being successful in soft light like this when you're doing this sort of challenge. Right, camera down and let's go and see what I can find. So I think I may just have found my first shot. It's very typical of me. It's down on the ground and it is a leaf, but it's a little bit different, and there's a bit of an artistic element to it, which is what I really like and why I can't really resist it. So just down here, you can see it. I'll just give you a second. So off to the left is where I was stood when I first found it. You can see the disturbance on the ground there. And then just here, this sycamore leaf, just nestled in amongst all those pine needles. And I think it blends in really well. I'm just moving the camera around to a position that might work. What do you think about that? I'm not overly keen on this. And some of the green pine needles I'm not overly keen on either. I wish it was all one tone, but you can't have everything. And I can tone those down. I can reduce the luminance value and also the saturation values of those greens to make it more complementary, but I really like that composition. So let's get the camera on that, just so you can see the camera bag is just there, so I haven't gone far. I did wander into the woods over there and I found one little potential seam, but in the end I decided against it. On the way back to this area I thought I'll make sure I stay close first of all, because it's nice to stay near and then work out rather than go running as far as you can, as quickly as you can. So it was nice to come back and find that in such close proximity to the camera bag. I almost feel like I want to find one right where the camera bag is, but let's get this one done first and see how it looks. Right, so here is the leaf, and what I've got is my filters, because I'm going to use a polarizer on it, obviously my camera, and I have got my 120mm macro lens on. Now the size of that leaf definitely doesn't require a macro lens, so I will make that quite clear. Any standard 100mm lens or somewhere in that range would easily get this. 100 to 200 would easily get this, so it's not necessarily that you need a macro lens to get this shot. Right, let's get this set up. Right, the camera is set up, but the sun annoyingly has come out a bit too much. You can see I've just not adjusted the exposure there, so you can see just how bright that sun is. So wait for it. I've got my little gizmo, which if you watch all the videos you'll see I've used before. Video called Ghost in the Woods, and this basically is just a sheet with little pockets sewn into it. Let me see if I can dial that exposure down a little bit. There, little pockets sewn into it that I can just stick sticks in and just make this nice diffused light behind the subject. So the subject is there in much nicer soft light, and that enables me to work in some really nice conditions, and when the sun does come out it is actually complementary on the subject itself. So I'm going to put this camera on the back of my main camera now. I'm I've got a new gizmo. I've seen one or two YouTubers using these. I can position the camera on the back of here. Annoyingly, it's not as long as I would like, so I can just about reach, but I'll get that on now and show you the composition. Right, so there we have the composition all set up. I positioned the leaf as I showed it before, just the stock would be down here and it's running from a left to a right, which feels really nice and natural to me because I read from left to right. The polarizer isn't doing a huge amount right now. It's doing a little bit, but not a huge amount. That's because the diffuser has had an effect on the light, but it is managing to do something, which I'm happy with. Now what I will be doing is I will be darkening that down. I want to make sure that I don't have any of those waxy pine needles causing any distractions, so I will take it right down low. As long as I'm not clipping that histogram on the left hand side, so if I go right there I'm clipping it clearly, but once I get to about here I'm not clipping anymore. F19 would seem like a good F number to me. I'm happy with that. I'll go in and I'll just tweak the focus. I'm not going to do a focus stack. I'm quite happy that the leaf is nice and flat to the ground, and I will go with that. So I'll put that image on now. Right, I've got another shot. I just want to show you my camera bag, just because it fits in with the rules. Just zoom that in there. You just see it there, and the tripod just behind the tree there, which I'll get in a second. But the shot that I found is down here. Do you see my camera there? Now I still can see my camera bag, but not easy to pick out with this lens. Just about to see, where is it? The tripod is round about there. But the shot that I found is this one here. I spent a bit of time looking for a shot and I've been struggling, to be honest, because of the contrasty light. But what I really like here is these little mossy fronds. It's not so much them themselves, but the pattern they've created in the gaps where they are, and it's that I'm going to focus on. And I don't know whether I can zoom that in so it shows it. Just try and brighten that up. Move in there. Not easy because this camera's not got a close enough lens on it, but I quite like the way those tooth shapes are. And I'm sure I can make something of that. Probably have to move these bits of needles just to get a clean composition. But I think there's something there. So I'm going to head back now, pick the tripod up. Obviously the stills camera's still here, so I just need to go and get there's something to rest the camera on. I think we've got a shot here. So I need to make something a little bit clear, I suppose, with this camera bag challenge, in that I certainly think the challenge has to be at least 2 shots, because I think it's too easy. I'm not saying everybody cheats, but I think it's too easy to say that I found that, you know, within, I don't know, a radius of where I could see with my camera bag. So what I'm going to say, I probably should have said this as a little bit of a rule right at the beginning. It's got to be more than one shot within range of your camera bag. 2, ideally. 3 would be nice, because I always tend to go for triptychs on my films. Because it's my challenge, this is my channel, I am going to go for 3 today, and that's the challenge I've set myself. But for you guys out there, I think 2 is perfectly acceptable, certainly not 1, because I believe that it's easy enough to get more than 3 within range of your camera bag, as long as you're not overly fussy by the you know, whether there's any repetition in what you do. Maybe it's a full sequence of leaf shots, perfectly fine. It's all about seeing those compositions. They don't have to be all different. I'm trying to get them a little bit different today, just to prove the point that it can be done. Now I have to say, the light coming through the trees at the back is really lovely, and it comes across so well on the video camera. But I've actually tried a couple of frames with the stills camera, and it just doesn't piece together well. But it's nice to see. It films well on video, looks lovely as a background, but yeah, it doesn't work as a stills. And I thought I'd just mention that, because I'm sure where I've set up the video camera, there will be some of you saying, oh, that looks nice behind, but trust me, it's not that great when you try it. It's very, very cluttered, and there's no shapes that you can really focus on. So let me get on with this. I'll get you on the back of the camera and we'll have a look at the composition now. Right, so this is the composition that I've gone for. It's a little bit wider than I'm going to show on the film, because it is a focus stack. The reason it's a focus stack is because obviously trees, they've got a curvature to them, and I want to ensure that I get from all sharpness right throughout, from the bottom right corner right through to the top left corner, and everything in the middle as well. So it's a stack of about 5 images, just to be absolutely sure. I've taken the image on f/19, and as you can see, 3-second exposure at 100 ISO. Now the sun does keep coming out, and it's so frustrating. So what I've done is I've got my white sheet, which is just off to the camera, and it's just draped over some twigs just to give me some nice even soft light. Now what I really like about this particular shot, and it's for the reason I've not put a polarizer on, is because I love the lovely blue colour that the light has given to the bark, and I think that is such a nice contrast. But as we know, in summertime with blue skies and greens, it just looks so attractive. So I've not put a polarizer on. I've retained that blue reflective colour, which is really, really nice. And as I said, I've got these lovely triangular shapes, and all the fronds of the moss all coming in to that central point. So I shall put that image on now. Right, so I've got a third image, and it's a really interesting one. It may work fantastically, and it may fall flat on its face, but I just love it when you experiment with things like this, and this is what I was hoping for today. So far, the shots that I've got, the first 2, are very representational. They're really good to hone your skills on, nice and easy to find, and it's just about looking deeply into the undergrowth. That's what we're concentrating on so far. Now, what's happened is that obviously the sun has come out, and I was shooting, you can see my camera there just a second ago, and if let's focus on, let me just put this on, brighten that up a bit. So here we've got a larch branch. In fact, let me put this camera down. So yes, we've got a larch branch just here. And to a large extent it's sort of set against a dark background, and what really drew me to it, and I saw it earlier on this morning, is that it's quite flat to the camera. The plane of the way that the branch is coming down creates this nice flat fan of branches, so there's not really a great deal behind it immediately, and certainly nothing in front of it immediately, so you can shoot it with a very shallow depth of field and just focus on the patterns. So what I've tried to do is I've gone really creative, and I've been working with the tools available. I've set the camera on f4.5. The lens I've got on is equivalent to a 200mm lens, something like that, and I'm at full extension, and I've just focused on these branches, which has thrown the background sufficiently out of focus. Now at the correct exposure ordinarily that would be a huge distraction, but what I've done is I've overexposed the whole scene, so these branches actually look hoarfrosted, and it's created a very pictorial effect, and it's had the effect of burning out the background as well. And absolutely it's not correctly exposed, but sometimes it pays to do that on purpose, to see what creative finishes you can get to your scene. So I'll get the camera on the back of the stills camera now, and I'll just show you some of the images that I took. It's a shame the sun's not out really, because I'd be able to demonstrate it in real time, but I'll show you some of the images that I took, and then I'll put the best one on. So this is how the image started off live, and you can see it's not overly complimentary, but you can see the light is certainly on those branches. I'll move the camera over in sequence. Now that one there, clearly overexposed too much. There's nothing that your eye can rest upon. It does look very messy, but you can see the idea sort of coming together. And I played around with a few different exposures, as you can see. Now interestingly, I started to notice this arc of this branch coming down here, but as it stands it's just a little bit too far to the right, and you've got this empty negative space here on the left. Now as I continued, I moved it, I realised the error, and I moved it just over to the left a little bit, which makes it much nicer than it does there, you can see. But that background still is quite distracting, especially in this lower right hand corner here where there's no light on that part of the scene. So I continued to shoot on a bit of a wing and a prayer. You see the background sufficiently out of focus at this focal length, and there's just enough separation between the background to help pick out those large branches. Now that one was, I would say, the penultimate shot. I went too far with the exposure. It's clearly lost all its effect. And then I got this one here, which I quite like. And I think this is the one that I'm going to stay with. Hopefully it's sharp enough where it needs to be, but I do like that. It's a nice compromise between it being too light and too dark, which is that one there is clearly too light. And like I said, that one is too dark. So it's somewhere in between the two. And I think that one just falls in the right place. So there's my settings: f4.5, 100 ISO. The shutter speed varies depending on what the light's doing and what compensation I've dialed in. But I think that can work, and it's different enough to add in this film, and just to show that you can get a variety of different things. It doesn't always have to be representational shots. So I'll put that on now. Certainly the moment has passed now. The light's just shifted on the background sufficiently enough that I can't actually get the shot, and that's what I love about this type of work, is that you've got to be really quick. You've got to see it and you've got to react to it and grab it while you can. And that's why I didn't really film the process of me taking it. I just knew that time was limited, and I might never be in this position again where I can get this shot. And like I said, that's what I love about it. It's so unique, and when it works, it's so fulfilling. Just what I forgot to mention is that the distance of the camera bag to that shot, which I'll just show you now. I'll just whiz that round. There's the camera bag, and that's why I spotted this shot earlier on. Sort of the branch really sort of, just let me straighten that up. The branch really stood out to me, and it was catching the light earlier on, and I don't know, it just didn't really grab me at the time, and that's what it means. That's what I mean by that precise moment, that when things are just right, and that's what happened, and I was lucky enough to get it. So, as I said earlier, see this as a bit of a challenge. Hope you accept the challenge, and certainly the other guys on YouTube. Be nice to see some of them having a go at this, to see what they can get. There's one or two people out there I think could do a really good job of this, and it'd be interesting to see if they take me up on this. So it's hashtag camera bag challenge, and post the images on Instagram, and let's see what comes out, and I'll try and comment on as many as possible. What I will say is try to keep the images as clean as possible. Think about the artistic merit of the shot, and how the composition all sits. You know, if it feels uncomfortable, it probably is uncomfortable, and by that I mean compositionally uncomfortable, in that it's jarring. And keeping things clean, making sure there's, like I did earlier on, bits of pine needles, make sure they're out, and just a nice, tidy, clean image is what we're looking for, with that artistic input in terms of shapes and contrasting colours, lines and swirls. There's all sorts, it's an infinite amount of things you can photograph. I'll put my images on now, but I'm going to call it a day and get back to the van for a quick brew and then get home. I'll say thank you all so much for watching. If you're not already subscribed, don't forget to subscribe, give it a thumbs up, dead important, and leave some comments below. Let me know what you think of today's images. Workshops are still available. There's a few slots left for this year, so get onto the website www.simonboothphotography.com, have a look at those, and I will leave it there. So I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.